What a week. Um, what a tough group of guys we have in that locker room. And you scratch your head a little bit. You go, how do we just win that? And the guy you just talked to, Demonte Williams. Wow, we made the switch to put him on EJ. Down four, and he made me look like a really good coach. And then steps and hits a three, and then you give the ball to the best closer in basketball, and I couldn't be prouder of Io. There's nothing easy about taking 10 or 11 days off, and we're having to wear a face mask and get back into it. It's hard. That's really, really, really hard to do. So he's to be commended for that. And then I thought Andre Curbelo with Trent in foul trouble, not just dominated the first half offensively, but I thought his defense, he made one mistake on an out of bounds play. But he was fabulous. Georgie was called into yeoman's duty tonight with, fighting around some of Kofi's foul problems. But I could not be prouder of this group in terms of their toughness and grit and tenacity. And now we'll get ready for postseason.
All right, Coach. Thank you. We'll open up for the questions from the folks who are there in Columbus. Scott Ritchie, you can lead off. Derek Piper on deck, and then Marley and Brett after that. So go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Brett, you mentioned the difficulty in Io coming back after that time off, but it didn't seem like there was any hesitancy or any difficulty in him getting back in the flow. Just what kind of allowed him to do that?
Probably a better question for him. He was okay in practice. I worried about his conditioning, and you get to a different anxiety level when you get into a game and adrenaline, and then you have a certain level of what the unknown is, if the mask is going to bother you when you shoot. And obviously 7 for 10, he didn't get a ton of clips, and we literally went in with kind of the mindset that we were going to ease him back into this with not having to run a bunch of stuff to him early. We let Trent getting in foul trouble. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how big his three was. But, Curbelo dominated the game, and then we were able to kind of ease through that segment of the game. But, it's not easy doing what he did, believe me.
And Michigan cut down some nets, I guess was Thursday night. Trent had a Big Ten champ sign this afternoon. So is there any controversy over who's the Big Ten champion this year?
I know we've won 16 games, and we've played all 20 of them. And, we all knew that this would be a unique situation with an unbalanced schedule in terms of not playing all the games. But I know this, Scott, nobody's won more games than us.
Right.
And we played them all.
All right, thanks, Scott. We'll go Derek Piper and then Marley and Brett. Go ahead, Derek.
Coach, you may not have to study your bracketology too much. It seems like you'll be a 1 seed with this. What does that mean to you, assuming that's the case?
Well, it's great. There's no doubt. I mean, it doesn't mean you're exempt from winning and losing and going home and winning in advance. You got to go do your job. But I think our resume speaks for itself, and I think we may have the most quad one wins. We're close to it. Obviously it's a pretty impressive resume from that standpoint. So it means a lot. There's no doubt. Our guys with the imbalanced schedule in the league, and what was a true champion or not, or whatever, being a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament is a big deal.
You've lobbied for Io as National Player of the Year. He did some lobbying for you as far as Coach of the Year. What's your relationship like with him, and how has it grown, particularly this year?
but he's got a much harder case than I do. You know, that son of a gun's closing ability and filling a stat sheet and elevating a program. You know, my job's pretty easy when you have guys like that. So, it's I don't even know who votes on that kind of stuff. That's not my concern. I've never been consumed by that, but I am consumed with making sure people need to realize how damn good a player he is and how big he is, and not just scoring points. It's everything else.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Marley and then Brett Behrens. Go ahead, Marley.
Coach, it seems like in the last just 3 games, really, Andre has just grown exponentially. What do you think has allowed him to rise to that occasion and just see as much growth as we did here just in these last few games?
Well, one, he was forced to, with Io being out in the first 2. And then the second piece to that is his personality. He's an alpha. He's not afraid of that. He's always been that guy. He's always been one of the best players and the most dominant players on the court every time he steps on it. And, new system, new all of that, being a freshman in college impacts him, but man, he's not playing like a freshman anymore.
And for him, maybe today with Io being back, it could have been easy for him to maybe step back into that shadow, but I think he did maybe just as well as he had the past couple of games. I mean, what did you see from him, and what did you like about that?
Gives us a pretty good selection at the guard spots to go pick on the other team's weakness. That's what I liked about it the most. And he's making shots. He feels comfortable. He's confident, and it's a rare thing to have guards that good and that aren't afraid. And they all follow Io there, but Bello's done that for his whole career.
Thank you.
Brad, what is it about your team and the biggest moments and biggest stages they seem to rise to the occasion?
Toughness, confidence, been there, done that, been on the other side of that. I think that you do that when you've got a smile on your face and a sense of we've been here before, nothing bothers us. It's fun when you have that, and guys aren't afraid of that moment, and guys can go make plays. And we don't have just one; we have multiple. We have the best one in the country, but we also have multiple guys who aren't afraid of that. DeMonte Williams to take a shot, Trent Frazier to take a shot, Carmelo, Kofi, Georgie makes 2 big free throws. It's all, that confidence radiates through our locker room.
You're going to pack your bags here for Indianapolis and hopefully not come back for a month, 3 weeks here. How do you sum up what this journey is going to be here in the next month, trying to win a national title all in Indy?
I hope it's a hell of a lot of fun, Brett. I just hope I've got enough socks, underwear, and there's a damn good dry cleaner in Indianapolis that, I hope we're there for a long time. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it.
All right, we'll go Brandon Simberg and then Shannon Ryan and then Tyler Cottingham. Go ahead, Brandon.
Brad, Ohio State missed their last 10 shots. What do you think you guys did so well defensively down the stretch?
Made a nice switch. DeMonte Williams on E.J. Liddell to handle their little ball screen and rescreen action that they had with Washington. We told Trent he was going to stay on an island, so to speak, that we weren't going to switch that. That put Kofi and Georgie on Young, so they could be somewhat supportive. DeMonte's so strong in his lower body and bothered EJ and was able to challenge. And then Washington had to take really tough shots with Trent. So, and then the most important piece of that, which we didn't do a lot of the game, was we cleaned it up with a rebound. It was a unique night for Kofi. He didn't have a rebound in the first half on the defensive side. And that's part of him being drug out on the floor a little bit. But that late game switch was huge.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Shannon Ryan, and then we'll go back to Tyler Cottingham. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, my connection was bad for a minute, so I don't know. I don't think you were asked this, but with masks, I mean, those can really mess with guys' peripheral vision sometimes. And it sounds like Io spent some time really trying to get used to that. But I think they can also be really distracting mentally to a player. I guess on both of those things, but more that mental ability or maybe that focus or concentration Io has to not let that be a hindrance or be annoying or consume his thoughts too much. What does that mean something, or is that overstating it?
Yeah, no, there's tremendous. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we were very curious about it coming back into practice. As soon as he got the mask, he wore it around his apartment constantly, just to get used to the vision. It wasn't just, hey, I hate it, it's uncomfortable, I'm just going to wear it at practice. He adapted to it in his everyday life, and and then it was okay. Now, how does it handle? With his hair, how does it work with sweat coming down? And those were all things that then became part of practice. And yeah, I mean, I called it a Catwoman mask. I don't know what else you call it. Batman, I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem to bother him too much.
Both good superheroes. And just if I can follow up on it, he was kind of smiling and just telling us how you got on him the other day, and like he seems to really like relish those critiques, and I'm just curious how rare that can be for a player at his level to welcome even harsh criticism from a coach.
Great players, truly great players, always want to be pushed, and I think that's the one thing that I respect so much about Io. I respect a lot of those guys, and I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, yesterday wasn't one of Curbello's better days, and I challenged him. And there's something about greatness. Greatness wants to become better. They're never satisfied. And we didn't have a great practice yesterday, and our walkthrough in Io was not good defensively. And I told him he might have the shortest comeback in history. He may play 26 seconds the way he was going. Gosh darn, he loves that, and he wants that, and he doesn't want to be coddled and told he's great, and he just thrives on that, and that's a blast to coach. It's called character, and we've got a whole bunch of character in our locker.
Okay, Tyler Cottingham, you're up, and then Joey Wagner on deck. Go ahead, Tyler.
Coach, at the beginning of the season, obviously expectations were sky high. You started the season, I think, ranked 8th in the AP poll. You're going to finish the regular season ranked 3rd or 4th. You're likely going to have a number 1 seed. How difficult was it to not only meet those expectations, but exceed them, up to this point at least, with the specter of COVID hanging over everything all year?
Well, just take COVID out of it, and it's hard to do. I mean, you especially when you play in the best league in the history of college basketball, which is the Big Ten this year. When I think that's still the case. I don't think the analytics have changed. And you think about that, we played all 20 games and in the best league, and 16 wins. And we played the non-league schedule because we knew we had to grow. And now throw COVID on top of that, there's another layer to that that's really deep because of the sacrifices that our players have had to endure mentally and physically. And I mean, it's one for the record books in my opinion, in terms of all of the sacrifice that's gone on to it, but all of the uniqueness and pleasure that comes with it.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, Joey Wagner, you're up, and then Matt Stevens on deck. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Brad, as you guys get ready for the postseason, where are you guys at? I mean, you've done this a couple times at different stops, getting ready to go into the NCAA tournament. Where's this team at, and maybe how did they get to wherever that point is?
We're in a good place. I mean, there's no, I think you want to go in confident. You don't want to go in doubting yourself. You want to be confident. You want to be some assurance in your roles of what everybody's got. We approached the Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio State game as a mini NCAA tournament. And you get great opponents every night, and they're all different styles, and you have to play differently. And you can't take the mental downside to that. And I think that's the one thing that I keep harping to our players is there can be no mental letdowns.
This was a very kind of NCAA tournament-like end, with especially you guys being on the road and two teams with the, possibly could have been a number 1 seed this week. Well, you mentioned approaching it like that. Was that an idea that came to you? Is that something you've always done? How did you kind of decide how to, kind of poke these guys and push them in that direction?
No, I haven't played three consecutive 3 games in 1 week against ranked teams on the road to end the season before. No, I mean, you just try to think of things, the way to keep an edge, to keep guys motivated, to keep challenging them. I spend a lot of time. We are kind of who we are offensively, defensively. We continue to work there, but I spend a lot of time thinking about, how do we motivate? How do we get better? How do we challenge? How do we keep sharpening our skills? And that's, okay, let's look at it this way. And we went with it, and it's kept our guys pretty focused.
Thanks, Brett.
Okay, and we'll wrap up with Matt Stevens. Go ahead, Matt.
Brad, you've kind of talked about it, but I think it took Io 9 minutes to get a shot attempt, and he really didn't touch it all that much. I think you subbed him actually in and out before he got a whole bunch of touches. I'm just curious, you know him better than anybody on this call. Where does that maturity and where does that patience come from for a kid that was out 3 games and I would have thought may have been a little anxious and to force things a little bit? He just seemed like, once again, as he always tells us, he let the game kind of come to him after missing 3 games.
Yeah, and I mean, I set at the board before the game, and I always put up our first call, what we want to run, and I really debated whether to run something to him or not, and I didn't. We got Kofi a basket, and it was if you ever get that you got to get a second win, and he hasn't played in a while. He's done running, yes, but there's nothing like the adrenaline of that first 2 or 3 minutes. So I knew I was going to get him early and sub him out. I hadn't anticipated Trent getting in foul trouble. He hadn't done that all year, and yet so they had to play some extended minutes. But I wanted him to get acclimated. I didn't want him to feel like it was all on his shoulders. And then Curbelo was outstanding. So we were able to ease him back into that, and not have to throw him the ball every single trip early.
Apologize, this is a dumb follow-up, but during that 9 minutes where he's not even on the board yet, are you kind of wondering, hey, is he okay? Like, is he all there? Is he 100%? Like, was there any concern on your bench for that, or was that just normal IO?
No, he didn't force anything. And again, we had a great matchup going with Curbelo, in ball screens. And then, IO found a couple mid-range pull-ups, got a layup. And then, he's off and running and really settled into the game quite nicely. So that takes a very mature player who understands. And, he was just about perfect from that standpoint in terms of the way he handled.